Alright guys, so we're here again in Kentucky at the Utility Expo, and a lot of guys were asking about fully electrical boom trucks. Now this guy here, the motor, the boom, everything, 100% fully electric. So we're going to take a closer look at that. We've got Paul and Alan. Great to meet you, Paul.
Me too.
Great to meet you, Alan.
All right, so we've got the International EMV with our Altec TA60 on it. This truck is rated to drive 135 miles. That's what it's advertised for. And we estimate that the boom, typical boom usage will use about 10 to 15 miles of range in a day. So very minimal impact on the actual driving time.
The boom doesn't use up nearly as much power as the actual driving time.
Right, the boom is actually very minimal compared to everything else.
So what are we looking at in there for battery capacity?
I believe they're looking at 200 kilowatt hours is what the International advertises for these vehicles.
Okay, cool. The power and speed of this thing, are we struggling going up hills or?
Not really. No, actually the International guys, and we've driven it ourselves, it actually has more pep than your diesel trucks do because you get all that torque right off the line.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So, it's different as far as driving feel and all of that. That has more to do with the motor and how those power electronics are designed versus how much battery is on it. But in general, it's about 2.5 to 3 times the battery size that you would see on a passenger EV.
So this motor is fully electric.
Fully electric.
There's no diesel backup. There's no.
None.
Okay. Do standard charging stations work for this?
No, they don't. You're going to have at least a minimum of the level 2, but it's going to take a lot longer to charge off that. What you would really need to have is a level 3 DC fast charger.
Okay.
And the infrastructure is nil to none right now.
Yep. Yeah. So it's coming, but it's not exactly practical. You can't outfit a fleet with these right now and expect to work around the clock kind of thing. So that all being said, companies like Altec, they understand that it is an emerging technology. They're not trying to push these vehicles to replace diesel engines at the moment. However, if they don't dabble into their designs and move along with this technology, they're only going to be left behind. You'll see closer to the end of the video, there is a hybrid model available, which is a lot more practical.
The driving experience is actually pretty cool, and it's very quiet in there. It's kind of unnatural from what you're used to in being in a utility truck. So that takes a little getting used to, but it's kind of fun to get used to it as well. So.
What about the cold weather climate? Are we losing any battery time?
Absolutely, you're going to. You would have to reference what's going on with passenger cars to kind of get a feel for what that's going to do to you.
Just your window defrost and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well.
So my mic kind of botched there, but we wanted to talk a little bit about operating these vehicles in cold weather climate, where they're certainly not ideal, not having the diesel backup for using your window defrost and heating the cab. I'm from Canada. We have some pretty harsh winters. There's lots of fully electric cars on the road in Canada right now, and they're great. A lot of people say they won't fully replace a gas or diesel vehicle at the moment. We then talked about the boom speed and winch capacity, which the fully electric model has zero impact on the lifting capabilities of the winch, the boom itself, and any of the speeds involved with the operations of the hydraulics.
Wes, we're shooting a video.
How you doing, Wes?
Hey, my fault, Paul. How's it going?
Yeah, you're on video now.
All right.
So we were just talking about the batteries. They're mounted underneath the vehicle. Do they impede on space? Obviously, with line tracks, the more till spacing, the better. Does that use up some of that real estate?
It's a single rear axle. It's not available in a tandem axle configuration, so we do have some limitations when it comes to payload.
There's also wheelbase restrictions. This is the only wheelbase package available for this vehicle. This is a rapidly evolving area right now with all of the chassis manufacturers. They're catching up to the technology.
So from what I gather, something like this, as it stands now, would be great for a service truck in town. It's quiet, you're working in neighborhoods, you're just doing service work, where you're limited to that 135 miles and of travel. You're not going to be storm chasing with this, driving into a city with no power, clearly.
Right.
Yeah, the testing so far would make it that an inner city type work environment would work perfectly for this, but you'd have to have it dedicated. You're not going to be able to go 70 miles out and then 70 miles back and get it, some tools you forgot and go back out again. It's just gonna,
And my understanding is that some of these models are hybrids. They do have diesel backup, electric.
Yeah, so Altec's been producing a hybrid product for the last 10 years, so we've got a lot of history behind us on that. And the hybrid gives you another option to meet some green sustainability type goals, but it still has the engine. So if we did want to make that long loop to go to a work site, we would be able to get there and back and still have the ability to run the boom, heat and air condition the cab with the capacity that we need, and still be able to move the truck around.
Cool. So the hybrid model, you can get to where you're going on fuel.
You can get to where
Once
you're
you
going.
get going, shut her off and use the battery for your boom operation.
Right. One other advantage too is that if you did have storm work, you're not able to go back to the shop and charge the truck necessarily. That you do have the ability to charge the lithium batteries while driving down the road. So you get that opportunity charge. So again, you think about storms. Maybe you're in a hotel parking lot. There's probably not going to be infrastructure to plug it in. You'll still be able to take that truck and use it. And it actually has both systems. You have an ePTO as well as a mechanical PTO that can work back and forth jointly. That off, that turns back off. I'm no longer using any battery. Now, if you were in the summer using air conditioning, you would still be borrowing off the batteries from that. So again, we're up there working. The battery state of charge gets too low, then it's going to just auto fire the engine and go right into mechanical. So that's what you hear. You're going to go into that mode. So once it gets to 20% state of charge, it auto starts and charge until it gets back up to 40% state of charge. All right. Now you have the ability while you're up here, if you want to do that manual override, you can do it. It'll stay in this mode indefinitely until you decide to turn it back off again. So I want to go back and play by the rules. It'll cycle back and you're back into ePTO mode.
So for fuel management, you guys are technically, the utility is going to save a lot of money fuel management wise, because that truck's not idling all day.
It's not idling. You're going to have the fuel savings, but there's a lot more than that because it all depends on what the fuel price is. But the wear and tear, the diesel particulate filter changeouts are super expensive.
That's right.
The downtime. For the operator, the lineman, it's not necessarily about that. You care as a company, but it's about the quietness.
Yep.
It's about your safety. If you're working in a congested area and the ground guys around the truck, you might have the ability to get out of the harm's way at the last second if you get here. So that's important to linemen.
Another thing, question, I see this is diesel. Yep. Can you get this configuration in the gas?
We could get it in gas. It might be even more the reason to do that, to get a cheaper truck if you have this, because it's not going to be idling as much.
That's right. Because you're going to have that dependability of non-death,
that's right,
non-diesel cost, and you're shut off half the day.
That's right. Another thing to consider too is that lithium really doesn't play well in cold weather. We talked about that with the EV truck.
Yeah.
Anytime we're charging this vehicle or charging the battery is heating the battery. So we have an opportunity charge while we're driving down the road. So we're recharging that battery that way. So again, anytime we're charging, it's throwing heat to it. So we could work down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit and be okay. If we get colder than that, then the truck's just going to stay on and still work.
With the dozens of boom trucks that Altec had on display, I thought the Ford F550 hybrid electric diesel was really cool. Even for our harsh winters, you're basically driving a diesel truck and you can switch it off, run the boom fully electric. It'd be great for working in the subdivisions at 3 a.m. Even just working around the truck in general. There's not a whole lot of noise of that diesel engine running. And when the battery runs low, that diesel engine automatically fires up and starts charging it on the fly.
Another thing a lineman usually always ask is, I'm up there working and you say it's going to auto start. What happens when that process occurs? Am I going to all of a sudden notice jerkiness and a hesitation? Because I might be trying to get out of harm's way, and I don't need to be bugged with that. So what happens is when it gets down to 20% state of charge, then it's going to auto start. If you have your hand on the trigger, it will not allow it to start until you let off.
It knows.
Then it starts and goes to mechanical mode.
Right on.
And my understanding was too, if your battery goes low and the motor starts up, that'll actually charge the batteries back up while you're running on motor.
We call that job site charge. So it'll start charging. We don't require it to go back to 100%. We just take it back up to 40%. That normally takes around 30-40 minutes to get to that point.
Okay, and then does it automatically switch back to electric?
Automatically turns back on.
Very cool. Very cool.
So on the initial price of this unit compared to traditional unit, what difference are you looking at for price?
We do have a ROI calculator that we can go through, which we consider, the upfront cost. What if I need to change the battery out for the lithium battery? Figure that in there if we need to do that at some point, and that usually, it's going to show you what that payback will be.
Okay. I see those battery units are on top. Is that it?
Yeah.
So it'd be a quick change, easier change than.
Where it's at now, it would be pretty easily accessible. But if we're trying to put rubber goods boxes and things like that, it could be a little bit of a nightmare. Now that's not the only spot that you can put it. We have multiple locations that it could go, but it's all just working together to figure that out.
Well, it's really interesting technology. Like I said, we got some great footage of the guy running the bucket there. Real quiet, going to be awesome for neighborhoods at 3 o'clock in the morning once the technology gets refined
Absolutely.
a little bit better. So a lot of people are excited about this technology, and I was really glad to be able to find this. And I appreciate the interview, guys.
Thank you.
Right on. All right, great to meet you.
Well, never.
Thanks, Alan.
So thanks for stopping in, guys. We're just here at the Altec section of the Expo in Kentucky. I think it's pretty safe to say this is the largest display at the whole Expo here. They've got their own thing off in the distance there. Thanks for stopping by, guys.